Hey everyone, it's Ling here, back with another Commander deck tech video. Since my last few deck techs were a bit convoluted, I thought I'd go over a more straightforward deck in this video. Today's deck is called Raging Party Time. It's a more aggressive version of the Party Time precon with Nalia as the commander. Just like before, I'll go through the strategy and the cards for the deck first, and then end with a quick goldfishing session. I'll also leave a Moxfield link with the full deck list in the description below. Nalia is an Orzhov commander costing 1 generic, 1 white, and 1 black. She is a 3/3 legendary human rogue that allows you to look at your top deck and cast any party member from your top deck. At the beginning of combat, if you control a full party, Nalia will also give each creature you control a +1/+1 counter and death touch until end of turn. The goal of this deck is to quickly build a full party with low mana value creatures and then swing in for damage as they grow bigger each turn. This deck is primarily made up of creatures because we want to be able to form a full party as quickly as possible and then leverage the commander's ability to cast creatures from the top deck. Many of the creatures will also have evasions such as flying, or first strike / double strike because no one in their right minds would want to block those if Nalia triggers to give them death touch as well. This deck does not contain any game changers, and I would say it belongs in bracket 3. Rating the power level out of 10 relative to the decks I own, I would give this a 5 out of 10. Getting into the strategy, the first creature type we need to form a full party is a warrior. In the 1 mana slot, we have the flying creatures Moth Rider Patrol and Aven Skirmisher. In the 2 mana slot, we have the double strike creatures Core Blade Master and Twin Blade Geist. Erdnan Dromoka Warrior is also included. He puts a +1/+1 counter on target creature on ETB and can easily give one target attacking creature first strike or double strike, especially when you have a full party with Nalia. Next, we have Nezumi Cutthroat, which is just an invasive creature with fear. While Mindblade Render gives card advantage when opponents are dealt combat damage by a warrior. In the 3 mana slot, Harper Recruiter is a flying creature that provides a form of card advantage on attack. Yathen Tomb Guard has Menace and can also give card advantage when a creature you control with a counter on it deals combat damage to a player. Assault Intercessor has Menace and First Strike, and also causes an opponent to lose 2 life if a creature under their control dies. Lae'zel is also included. She synergizes very well with Nalia's ability, allowing your creatures to grow stronger even faster. Lastly, in the 4 mana slot, we have Squad Commander and Seasoned Dungeoneer, both of which cares about party members and can help you get through with more damage. The next creature type we need to form a full party is a Cleric. In the 1 mana slot, we have Chaplain of Alms with First Strike and Ward 1 that can return from the graveyard with Disturb. Kitesail Cleric is a flying creature with a kicker that could come in handy later into a game. And Archpriest of Iona, which has power equal to the number of party members and can also give a creature +1/+1 and flying if you have a full party. Giver of Runes and Mother of Runes both tap to give a creature protection. They can be used defensively to help your creatures dodge spells or offensively to help them connect with attacks. Weathered Wayfarer provides value by ensuring that you never fall behind with your land count. In the 2 mana slot, we have Metastatic Evangel, Mikaeus the Lunarch, and Shale, Dean of Radiance, all of which have some sort of ability that helps pump your army up. I know that Mikaeus has a variable X cost, but normally I would just drop him for X = 1 because I rely on Nalia to put more counters on him. Next, we have 3 flyers, with Selfless Spirit providing extra protection for your board, Remorseful Cleric providing you the option to nuke a graveyard, and Lord Jesco Guado providing card advantage in the form of clues. Then we have Skyclave Cleric, which is a MDFC that fits well with the theme of this deck, so I included it. Finally, in the 4 mana slot, we have Glorious Protector. I normally wouldn't cast this card unless I really need it to fill the Cleric slot. I prefer holding this card in my hand in case I need to protect my board against a board wipe. The next creature type we need to make a full party is a wizard. Orzhov Colors doesn't really have many choices for wizards, so you kind of have to take what you can get. In the 1 mana slot, we have Viscera Seer, Lightstall Inquisitor, and Burrington Forge Tender. The Forge Tender can be helpful against red board wipes, while the other 2 are mainly cheap ways to fill the wizard slot. In the 2 mana slot, Dark Confidant and Keen Duelist are included to give card draw at the cost of life, while Deep Gnome Terramancer ramps you when another player ramps or fetches a land into play. Voldaren Bloodcaster is mainly used as a flying attacker, while Thunderous Orator can also sometimes be an evasive attacker based on the rest of your board. Jadar Ghoulcaller of Nalia doesn't have evasion, but he does create a free decayed zombie every turn that you can attack with to put pressure on your opponents. In the 3 mana slot, we only have Grim Haruspex, which provides card draw whenever a non-token creature you control dies. Finally, in the 4 mana slot, we have Felisa, Fang of Silverquill, who synergizes very well in this deck. She has an ability that lets you create a number of Inkling tokens equal to the number of counters on a non-token creature when it dies. The final creature type we need to form a full party is a rogue. Because Nalia is a rogue, and you always have access to her, very few other rogues are included in the rest of the deck. Zulaport Cutthroat is a good 2 mana rogue that provides value if anything on your board dies, while Grim Harling is just good, especially in a deck that values attacking. In order to make forming a full party much easier, we play changelings and other creatures that can count as any of the 4 party members. Some of these creatures don't have any substantial keywords or abilities. They are mainly meant to help you form a full party quickly. In the 1 mana slot, we have 2 great choices: Universal Automaton with its easy 1 generic mana cost, and the unblockable Changeling Outcast. In the 2 mana slot, there is 3 Tree Mascot and Stonework Pack Beast that can help filter mana, plus Skeletal Changeling, which can regenerate itself for a mana cost. In the 3 mana slot, we have Barkform Harvester, Avian Changeling, and Mirror Entity. Avian Changeling can be a useful flying attacker, while Mirror Entity is very good and can help you alpha strike opponents into oblivion. In the 4 mana slot, it's Baraka's party leader. He is the alternate commander of the Party Time Precon and has a pretty good attack trigger that causes defending player to lose X life and you to create X treasures, where X is the number of creatures in your party. The final card in this section isn't actually a creature, it's Masswood Nexus, an artifact that makes your creatures have every creature type so that you can easily form a full party. Because we want to rely on Nalia to play creatures from the top deck, there aren't that many non-creature spells. For protection, Flare Fortitude and Flawless Maneuver can both be cast without paying mana to save your board. While Swiftfoot Boots can be used to protect a single creature, normally I just equip Nalia. Invasion of Gobekhan lets you peek at an opponent's hand to delay a potential board wipe, but mainly you want to flip it into a Light Shield Array, which buffs creatures that attack with +1/+1 counters and can also be sacrificed to protect your board. Ascend from Avernus is included in case you do get hit by a board wipe. You could easily reanimate all of your cheap mana costed creatures with this. Coveted Prize is made for a party deck, with its casting cost reduced by 1 for each party member you control. You can tutor for anything and then cast something with mana value 4 or less if you control a full party. Requisition Raid is a flexible removal piece, mainly used to remove artifacts and enchantments that stonewall you from attacking, with the added bonus of giving creatures you control +1/+1 counters. Stick Together and Damning Verdict provide one-sided board wipes that should resolve in your favor in most matchups. Lastly, there are 2 endgame pieces, with Ragna's Sanction being a poor man's Achroma's Well, helping you get through with a wide board while buffing it with +1/+1 counters, and Sigarda's Summons, which makes all of your creatures with +1/+1 counters into 4/4 Flying Angels. There aren't very many ramp cards in this deck since the overall mana cost is very low. Just the standard Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Orzhov Signet, and Talisman of Hierarchy are included. As always, the final portion of the deck tech is lands. Starting with utility lands, we have Mutavault, which is a must-have because it can help you achieve full party status. Karn's Bastion is included to help you proliferate the +1/+1 counters on your creatures. Vault of the Archangel can come in handy by giving your board lifelink and death touch, but mostly it's for the lifelink part. Windbrisk Kites can hide away a card that you can play later when you attack with 3 or more creatures, which should be pretty doable in this deck. Castle Lochthwain and War Room are included to provide card draw should you need it. And then there's Base Camp, which fits the theme of the deck by letting you produce mana of any color to cast a party member. The rest of the lands are the usual Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Dual Lands, and Basics, totaling 35 lands including the MDFC. Because this deck wants to be aggressive, the lands are mostly ones that can enter the battlefield untapped in the early game. To conclude, this Raging Party Time deck is a unique aggressive strategy based around the full party mechanic. When I first built this deck, I thought it would be awkward to assemble a full party, but it has performed much better than I ever expected. Being able to cast creatures from the top deck with Nalia is also much better than I thought it would be, allowing you to retain your hand in case you need to rebuild and helping you hit your land drops more consistently. In terms of upgrades, I can't really think of any creatures that would improve this build without also increasing its overall mana cost. You can definitely improve the protection package by playing cards such as the Fairy's Protection or Clever Concealment. You can play Dolmen Gate to attack with impunity. Also, you can replace Ragna's Sanction with the Chrome as well. The precon originally included Black Market connections, which you can include, but personally I didn't think it fit well in this aggressive build. If you want the deck to be more budget friendly, you could swap out some of the pricier creatures for cheaper ones that fit the attacking strategy of the deck. For non-creature spells, you could swap out Flawless Maneuver and Flare Fortitude for cheaper alternatives. And there are also some pricier dual lands that you could swap out for basics since there aren't that many basics in this deck to begin with. For some reason, I keep picking a deck that I've mostly foiled out for these deck tech videos, and I don't even have that many decks like this. So if you want to build a foiled out version of this deck like me, it'll cost around $293. Otherwise, the cost of this deck according to TCG Player using the cheapest card versions comes out to be $139. Now, on to Goldfishing. I'll be going through the first several turns to give you guys an idea of how I would typically play this deck. I promise this one is going to be a lot shorter than the convoluted turns I took in my last two videos. Okay, we've got Moxfield's playtester loaded up with Nalia de Arnis here. Looking at starting hand, there's two lands, but we do have a mana rock. So this deck can be played with two lands as long as your hand looks like this, where it's a bunch of cheap stuff to play. Otherwise, I would recommend 3 lands. Yeah, everything in this hand looks pretty good. I could build out a full party with these 3 cards plus the commander. The only thing is Sigarda's Summons probably won't do anything for a while. Let's just get started here. Draw for turn on turn 1. Cool. Turn 1. Let's see what I want to put down first. Let's put down the Changeling Outcast first. And then go ahead and pass the turn and go to turn 2. Turn 2 here, I'm going to play a Plains. Just basic land so far. I am going to play the Arcane Signet, which will then allow me to play either the Viscera Seer or the Skirmisher, but I think Skirmisher is the better choice because it can get through on attacks way easier with the flying. And then we'll pass to turn 3. Turn 3 here, I'm going to play the Swamp for turn, and then we'll tap 3 to play Nalia. So Rogue Warrior, anything. So I just need either a Wizard or a Cleric, but I only have Wizards in my hands anyway, so let's go ahead and cast Burrington Forge Tender, which is pretty helpful for countering red board wipes. Alright, so we do have a full party already on turn 3, and I'm going to go to combat. Actually, Nalia is also on the board, so I can... So she lets you look at the top card. You don't actually play with the card revealed, but just for simplicity and Goldfishing, I'm just going to play with the top revealed. Cool. Not that useful at this point. So going to combat, put a 1/1 counter on each of our creatures, and then swing in with an unblockable and a flyer for a total of 4 damage. Just say I hit 2 people. Try to be diplomatic. Definitely don't want to like swing everything at a single person, because then they get angry and they'll clap back at you. We'll just do 2 damage to one player and 2 damage to another player. Alright, and then we'll go to turn 4. Turn 4. I didn't get a land. Huh. So I don't think I'll cast the cards in my hand. I think Grim Hireling is probably the best call here. Typically after I cast Nalia, I try to cast from my top deck just because I want to hit lands on my top deck so that I can make more land drops more consistently. Since we did miss a land drop on turn 4. Plus, Grim Hireling is just really good, especially in decks that attack a lot, especially this one. So we'll go to combat again. I still have the full party, so put a counter on all of the creatures. So the fun thing about this deck is people don't tend to use their removals on these creatures because they're pretty crappy creatures at their base. Like, this is a 1/1 flyer for 1 mana. I don't think anyone would want to source Plowshare this unless it gets like really big. So like, I haven't had an issue where people just remove my stuff because they're not very scary creatures on their own. They just get bigger with Nalia. So go ahead and attack with these two guys. Let's just say I attacked a red player with this. And then I swung Nalia at a third player because she is a 5/5. So Nalia, you don't actually have to swing with her, especially not towards a player that has mana up, because she is a very important piece to this deck, and I would rather any one of these guys die because I can replace them more easily than Nalia dying. So only swing with her if you have an open attack and someone is tapped out, is my suggestion, I guess. Let's see, we'll go 2 guys here, and then I'll attack a third player. The other thing is she also gives Death Touch, so most players won't block, even if their creatures are bigger, just because it's not very profitable for them to block a smaller creature and then lose their big creature. Let's do Infinite Token here. I'm going to do 5 damage here to this player. And then 4 more here, so 6 total. And then we're going to do 4 total. Cool. And then because I hit 3 separate players, I'll get 6 treasures. Let's see. Treasures, where are you? Set this to 6. We can go ahead and actually spend some of that. Let's see. I think I'll do 2 for him because he can get evasion on the next turn, so we'll reduce by 2. Set counters, it'll be down to 4. I do want to cast Guard of Summons next turn because that would do a lot of damage. And then I could put Barakos in, but then I won't have enough mana next turn to cast a Guard of Summons, so we'll just do a Viscerous here. Remove a counter. So Viscerous here, not terribly useful in this deck. I guess if you were blocking something with lifelink, you can sacrifice the creature that blocked, and that person wouldn't get lifelink. That's the only situation I can think of where Viscerous here could be useful for this deck. But anyways, it is an option to sacrifice stuff, which is nice. We'll go and pass turn 4 and go to turn 5. Click next turn. Cool, Karn's Bastion on the top. Totally fine. And then put these. Yeah, we have a lot of creatures now. Okay. So we'll play Vault of the Champion. And then go ahead and pay 6. And reduce this by 1. And then play a Sigarda Summons. Okay, so this makes all of our creatures with 1/1 counters 4/4 flyers at their base, which makes them a lot bigger because at their base they're only 1/1s, well most of them are. So we'll go to combat. Nalia triggers, everything gets a counter. Add a counter here. Let's just go ahead and attack. Do a 1/1 here, 1/1 here, 1/1 here. Nalia can go here. Another 1/1 here. I think Grim Hireling can go here. And then these are my attacks for the 3 opponents. Let's see, this is going to be 7 plus 7. So 14 damage here. So up to a total of 18. Obviously, I'm not accounting for blockers. If it were a real game, I would definitely set it up in a way where the flyers can hit players without flying creatures, and the unblockable can go anywhere. And the ones that can be blocked, generally I'll attack someone with smaller creatures or creatures that they won't trade. But anyways, I forgot that they all had flying, so typically when you play Sigarda Summons, most of your damage will make it through. So this is going to be 7 plus 5 plus 5. So 17, so 23 total damage to this player. And then this is going to be 7 plus 6, 13 more, so 18. 18. Yeah, that should be right. Anyways, and then Grim Hireling should trigger if you hit all 3 opponents, so you get 6 more treasures. This is going to be 8. I think this is a good point to stop. So this is pretty much how the deck runs. You just like play a bunch of small creatures to build a party, and then have Nalia out. They get bigger, and then you keep swinging at your opponents because they'll have Death Touch too, and most players won't trade their creatures. And of course, I did get a little bit lucky with the Grim Hireling pretty early, plus the really cheap creatures that allowed me to cast Sigarda Summons to do this much damage on turn 5. That's not always the case. Sometimes it is a little bit slower. And when you do have Nalia out, definitely play from the top deck. So that way you have cards in your hand that you can play later in case of a board wipe. But here I kind of just threw everything out. So I guess that's it. I hope this goldfishing session was helpful, and thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment below if you want, or if you have any suggestions on how I can improve these videos. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.